and you have set political views. It was up to the committee who they wanted to advise.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you there, James, because we invited Adam along because he'd worked with the Joint Committee on Human Rights. Is a very distinguished lawyer, and we wanted to have that expertise at this hearing.
Distinguished lawyers are calling members of Parliament sinister.
Rude.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I wonder what caused our Tory Snowflake James Daley, one of three amazing, hilarious Tory meltdowns you're going to see, after being told the truth. It's hilarious. But anyway, hello there, and I do hope you're all well. And in last week's Home Affairs Select Committee meeting on the policing of public protest, they were questioning Graham Smith, Chief Executive of Republic, Adam Wagner, Barrister, Doughty Street Chambers, and Suzie Melvin, Night Stars volunteer from the Westminster City Council. And we will join the video at the part where Tory Snowflake, Tim Loughton, seemed to struggle to grasp the concept of why peaceful protests need to be a tad noisy.
Well, we can all complain about the BBC in various terms, but what I'm just interested in is on your website, I quote, it says, on Saturday the 6th of May, the eyes of the world will be on the coronation. We'll agree with that. This is the moment we make our objection loud, visible, and impossible to ignore. And invite people to sign up for that.
Not as our Tory Snowflake, Tim Loughton, emphasised the word loud. You'll see where he goes with this.
So what really was your intention? Doesn't anybody reading that could get the impression that actually there was something rather more severe planned, a peaceful demonstration involving a few placards which may or may not be ferried to the place of protest by some combination luggage straps?
Yes, our Tory Snowflake is asking someone who represents an organisation that's never partaken in what you could say dodgy protesting in any way, shape or form, as Graham Smith will very soon tell him.
No, because there is obviously, we have a history of peaceful protest. We have been very clear about what that protest would look like. It was going to be, we had about 2,000 people already telling us that they would be there, and they would be amassed in a crowd on Trafalgar Square, and if the cameras and the BBC and everybody else was covering it reasonably and fairly, then you would see it as part of the coronation coverage. That was our plan. Now, whether that would have worked, I don't know, but that was the plan. We are a peaceful campaign group. We always have been. And we have never had any intention of causing any disruption, as we have made clear to not just the Met, but every other police force where we have protested. So, no, it is not reasonable to make any conclusions.
What is your definition of disruption? You've said that you had loudspeaker equipment and megaphones.
As you can hear chuntering in the background, that's our second Tory Snowflake. That is, if you didn't already know, is our 30p Lee. Yes, our Leanderthal, our prize munter, Lee Anderson. What a bell tap.
Where there were the majority of people who located themselves on the route were there to enjoy the spectacle, the bands, and the music that went with it. But do you not agree that if you had somebody bellowing with the use of a megaphone and loudspeakers, things that were contrary to what people had come there to see, that surely is disruptive for the many hundreds of thousands of people who come there to enjoy spectacle and the music and everything to go with it?
Well, arguably, yes. But I mean, the point is that there are people there who were there to demonstrate their support for the monarchy, and there were people there that were demonstrating their opposition to the monarchy, and both had equal rights to be there. And there were far more of them, so therefore the noise for them would be louder than us. There were more of them, so they would be more visible. There was plenty of space where people could watch the procession without us
Why
being
was
in
it
there.
necessary to have megaphones and loudspeaker equipment if it was not intended to be disruptive?
The disruption that we're talking about in the context of this discussion is the sort of disruption of locking on, getting into the route and that sort of thing. If we talk about disruption in terms of diminishing their PR, that's a whole different matter.
No,
yes.
Is a megaphone and use of loudspeakers where people are there to listen and take in the spectacle, not by your own definition, disruptive, which is what actually you intended to be?
Yes, our Tory Snowflake, Tim Loughton, seems to be saying to me is that why couldn't you have just protested inside your own house or in your back garden where nobody can see you, or, more importantly, nobody can hear you? What an idiot. Anyway, what do you guys think?
Well, obviously protest wants to be...
Is it disruptive
noticed.
or not, Mr. Smith?
It's disruptive only in the sense that it is disrupting the PR aspect of the parade.
Yeah, it's about hundreds of thousands of people who come there to enjoy the spectacle and listen to the music and various other.
Thousands of people.
The use of a megaphone and loudspeakers to drown over that noise is, by your own definition, disruptive, which is what your intention was it not?
We raised these matters with the police, and they were very clear that it did not breach the law, simply because we could not physically disrupt the piece, because there were many more of them than there were of us. So even with amplification, they had no concerns with it. And I should say, again, they were abundantly clear that they had absolutely no concerns about any of our plans whatsoever, right up until Friday, the 5th of May. Right. So, these are not disruptive in the sense that you're trying to suggest.
Boom. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it, Timothy. More importantly, this is my view, I think they had actually more right to be there than the people who tripped up looking like Therese Coffey. Because, let's be honest, they did liaison with the police, and so I think they had just even more rights, if I'm concerned. What do you guys think? But anyway, this is where it all kicks off, and the absolute Tory meltdown begins after Caroline Harris asks a question to Alan Wagner about protesting, so to speak. So sit back, get your popcorn out, and enjoy. Mwah.
Okay, thank you. Caroline Harris.
Thank you, Chair. Adam, as a politician, I've been known to protest. I've been out there on Parliament Square with a whole load of menopausal women, and we've had our say, and we've had an opportunity to vent how we're feeling. Do you think what happened on that day is going to stop that kind of passive, if you like, protest, and is going to see more aggressive protesting, that people will be afraid? People like me who don't want to get into trouble with the police will be afraid to have our say, and the door will be open to more aggressive protesting.
I think this language is really interesting. Disruption that Mr. Loughton's been talking about, aggressive protest, passive protest. Protest is about getting yourself heard particularly by people in power, but also by your fellow citizens. And I think that in a way, the perfect protest movement is a mass protest movement where you've got in lots of people who agree because you've convinced them that that is the right method of, well, it's the right idea. And the problem, these laws are really focusing in on those mass protest movements, and they're making them a lot more difficult to organise. And I think the genesis of the Powers and the Public Order Bill came originally after Extinction Rebellion. They weren't a response to insulate Britain and sort of road blockages. They were about the mass protests in Extinction Rebellion, which were, in the most part, peaceful and creative and engaging. They engaged people with the ideas. They were very politically focused. And I think that we should be encouraging that in society. And one of the reasons is we want new ideas. It's really important. But the other reason is it's always seen, I think a good democracy understands that protest is the release of a safety valve. It's a release of pressure to allow people to go out and say, this is what I feel, and this is important to me, and to do it in a way which is a bargain. And in the case law, in the courts, they talk about civil disobedience and the bargain between the society and the individuals. And it's worrying that you heard Mr. Loughton's questions. For me were quite sort of almost quite sinister, and I don't mean that as a personal point. I just mean the questioning itself, as in, you bring a loudspeaker to a coronation, to a political event. It's not just everybody enjoying themselves. It's a very highly political event, the coronation of a constitutional monarch, in a system where people disagree and agree vehemently with whether there should or shouldn't be a king. And I think the idea that you could not bring a loudspeaker to a protest, which is almost the sort of bread and butter of mass protests, is a loudspeaker amplification, is really worrying. And I think that's the direction of travel, that you have politicians saying, well, you were just trying to disrupt things with your loudspeaker by getting, but people just enjoying themselves. I think that's really worrying. I think it's worrying for democracy. And I think we need to, we're in the early stages of it, but I think we need to sort of just take a check now.
Cut short her questioning because she moved on to another topic, but get ready for our third Tory Snowflake, James Daley, to absolutely loses marbles. Absolutely hilarious. Proper little snowflake. Enjoy.
Thank you, Susie. Thank you,
Very
Chair.
helpful, thank you. We'll now move to James Daley.
Can I just check what time the hearing finishes?
Why, have you got somewhere to go, James? Busy, you know. What a superb question.
Well, we have Prime Minister's question time at 12 noon, so we do try and finish before then.
Okay.
But I'm conscious people have got questions they want to ask, so I'll let it run a little bit.
Mr. Wagner, you're not here as a lawyer, are you? You're here as a political activist. You're giving opinions, political opinions, which, calling my colleague Mr. Loughton sinister is a new one for this committee.
Yeah.
But if you are here as a political activist and you have set political views, it was up to the committee who they wanted to invite.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you there, James, because we invited Adam along because he'd worked with the Joint Committee on Human Rights. Is a very distinguished lawyer, and we wanted to have that expertise at this hearing.
Distinguished lawyers are calling members of Parliament sinister.
Rude.
Well, rude. I'm not going to stop you asking your questions, but I just want to make it clear that Mr. Wagner is a very experienced and expert in the field of human rights law, and that's why we've got him here today.
Expert at what? Insulting people.
Well, that's rich coming from you, Lee Anderson. Insulting people. What a snowflake, eh? And what a sad, pathetic, snivelling little weasel of a man he is, isn't he?
God's sake.
Well, nobody's insulting anybody in this room, so let's be clear about that. And we're not making this personal. We're looking at the facts of what happened, and we're trying to get to the point where we understand decisions and why they were made. So perhaps if we do it on that level, James.
Mr. Smith,
Sorry, can I just respond to that? I didn't mean at all, and I said it wasn't personal. I just found that the idea that you question the head of a protest movement for bringing a loudspeaker, I think it's a sign of something really difficult and dangerous in our democracy. That we're sort of
use the word sinister, Mr. Wagner, and nobody else.
I thought the questioning was sinister. I'm sorry, I did think it was.
Adam Wagner, absolutely bang on the money, isn't he? Also, he did say he didn't mean it to be insulting, didn't he? And these three pathetic snowflakes were just absolutely hilarious, weren't they? The absolute pearl clutching. You had our 30th P. Lee chuntering constantly through questions. Tim Loughton chuntering when Dame Dana Johnson gave the reason why he was there. And James Daley, you haven't seen the end of our James Daley. He proper goes off on one and another video. It's hilarious. I do have a few of these videos on the go, and some of them are absolutely hilariously funny or just downright shocking, some of the statements that they say. But I'll spread them out a little bit, because if I put them all together, you'll either lose the interest and they'll lose a spark. But anyway, I really do hope you enjoyed this masterful bit of Tory baiting. Adam Wagner, can I buy you a beer? Absolutely brilliant. What do you guys think? Leave a comment down below, and until the next time, I shall bid you farewell and take care, my friends.